Well, gentlemen, I think it's safe to say we could just really dive right in. So the server transfer controversy, it's been going around. For those who don't know what's happened, essentially it was said on a tweet that you're going to be able to transfer between regions. Now that is not the case, and there's pitchforks and fire and egging going on. They're TPing people's trees. It's madness.
Yeah, it is madness. It's just one of those things, and I think if you guys had listened to Eternum podcast, Solus's show, he really broke it down. So I'm going to lean pretty hard on him on this one because he is a numbers guy. And actually, your breakdown was outstanding on that. So my own personal feelings on the thing is that sometimes mistakes can be made, and sometimes the semantics of what a development team says are pretty much every time a development team says something, it's taken as gospel. So when something has to be retracted, there inevitably ends up being pitchforks and riots and stuff, and it's like, whatever.
Yeah, I think, and again, thanks for the plug there, Cash. But on the show, I go through a lot of the metrics and a lot of the facts behind where this problem originated and where we are today. But just to kind of recap the theme, there is a dichotomy that is currently taking place where there's a balance between the experience that a gamer has. Think about the individual gamer. In this current moment, an individual gamer is lost. They're alone. If you're not inside of a hamlet, you're alone. You're in this forest, you're killing wolves, bears, elk, and you really do feel like you are alone. But if you go into a hamlet, all right, it's populous. You have a lot of people. There's this master equation that's going on, and I'm just going to say 2000 because nothing has ever been said other than a server cap of 2000. Right? But if we are to pretend like that magic number is 2000, you've got to keep that one experience while at the same time recognizing that almost double the amount of available slots showed up on day one. Right? And again, I'm summarizing my entire podcast. 354,000 available slots to play the game on day one. Now we're over 700,000 gamers. So you have this ultimate dichotomy of a gaming experience versus the community. And they're almost inversely related. They're in conflict, right? So there's a little bit of me that, and I think you can hear my angst in my podcast. I think you can hear it. But there's a little bit of a war that's happening right now with the development team and the community managers of what is the right balance. And we as gamers are kind of stuck in the middle. What I will say is we're still within 3 weeks. We're less than a month of this game being launched. I guarantee you they are at like a Sev 1 fire drill trying to figure this out, right? And again, we're less than a month in. But just to throw numbers at the problem, it's not as though they have just let this fester. They have doubled, more than doubled. They started on day one with 177 servers. They're not 485. So they're not being complacent. They're not being negligent. We are just, I say we, New World is just trying to find that balance of not sacrificing a gamer's experience for the sake of this community experience.
If I may, I think what my point on this is they're doing something. They're not ignoring it. They're not acknowledging it. They try to come out with some good input. They try to give you the best possible solution to a problem that they weren't prepared for. And they did not expect it, I don't think. And that's okay. But the big thing of it is the communication, the transparency. I'm a WoW player. How many times have you sat there and stared at your computer waiting for somebody to say something? somebody will acknowledge it from the company, and nobody does. This game and this gaming company, they actually acknowledge the problems. They call it a, hey, look, we made a mistake here. Hey, we weren't ready. Hey, this happened. Thank you for your patience. Here's the information. Here's what we're trying to do. And they pivoted on the servers because maybe they didn't realize they couldn't transfer in the same zone. We don't know the complete technical issues with it. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it's not. But at least they're giving us a bone. And that's with me. I like communication. I work at a big company, and if the communication breaks, the company stops. And I think it's just nice and refreshing to have that be presented. It still sucks for some people. Not going to say it doesn't. If you were waiting to get on a server and you made a character, now you got to decide, do I re-roll a new character and start over? What do I do? I know that sucks, but I'm just happy that they're giving us information. They're giving us the things that they are doing and what they're trying to do.
I got a positive and a negative. It's just perhaps just food for thought, but wouldn't you think, this is the negative first, wouldn't you think that a company as big as Amazon, who knows statics, they know numbers, there's no way they don't, wouldn't you think that they would have known beforehand, based on the sales, how many people they potentially had coming in on day one? It's I mean, it's food for thought. I mean, it's what are your thoughts?
You're not wrong.
Maybe the infancy of their company with gaming.
I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah.
So what I think honestly happened, and we saw it because within 2 or 3 hours of the problem surfacing, they already had new servers. They were putting 20 additional servers in each mega server. So we already saw that was a trigger they were ready to pull. I think they had thresholds. I think they purposefully launched the game below their threshold. And as the population hit certain thresholds, they pulled those triggers to react to it. Because again, what is the inverse? What is the opposite side of this coin? You launch with 485 servers and no one has anybody to play with because they're all spread to the 4 winds.
Right.
So I think they gated it on purpose, but I also think that's part of the problem as well. They gated it probably too much, and now they're having to kind of, pull back a little bit. And that, I believe, is where the kind of contention is really coming from.
I mean, I understand. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I mean, I understand that. Like, from a gamer standpoint perspective, you're frustrated. You thought you were going to be able to do X, Y, Z. So, you went over here anticipating to transfer over. I get that. 100%. Especially if you have friends on another server, etc. I'm with you. I understand. On the flip side of the coin, it does, this was already stated, but it does put you in this position. It's like, okay, do I transfer now and just eat it? Because you're gonna have to eat it. That's the harsh reality. You're gonna have to eat it because for whatever reason, whether it's maybe, some of the guys have already said that either they thought this was going to be something they'd be able to do, and maybe because of the large populace that came over, this was something that somehow got pushed or moved or change happened, something took place, I don't know. Or maybe that tweet was put out before all communication was given, I don't know. We definitely don't have the definitive answer, and there's a whole lot of different answers that could be given. Honestly, that could be the one thing. But overall, it's tough as a gamer. I get it. My wife, who started playing the game, she was on a different server. She had to, she couldn't transfer over. So she had to eat it and just start over. And granted, she was level 9. She wasn't like super invested yet. And again, I get that. Oh, she was only level 9. I'm 47 and blah, blah, blah. I get it. But at the same token, gaming is... I kind of go back to an old adage that we have. This isn't going to make it feel any better. This isn't going to take the pain away or the aggravation away. But it's simple as this. Gaming is better with friends. And it puts you in this place where it's like, if you're going to play with your friends, and that's what you got to do. You got to eat it and just do it. it's going to suck. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. It's going to hurt either way.
One of the things that I want to bring up is they gave us warning signs. They actually put all of the streamers and their groups on a website and said, hey, this is where all the streamers are going. If you joined El Dorado and you knew, or Olympus, we tried to go on El Dorado, right? But they gave us analytics to show us where all the streamers were at. So you kind of knew where the big lumps were going to be. And when we went in, when I got out of that 18,000 queue, there were several servers that had low population with no waits. So if you're angry about the game not giving you the ability to get on El Dorado, that's a decision that you made to go to El Dorado. But there was room for you to play on other servers, because I immediately rolled on the server we're on and I played from the beginning to the end. No problems, no queues, nothing. Well, there were a few queues at the early on, but my point being, Amazon can't do, if they are going to do a 2,000 server cut so they can make sure that the player performance is there and you can get in the game and play, they can't make a server fill 25,000 people from the very beginning day. That's not possible. The game would have crashed. They would have not been able to play. Nobody would have been able to get on the beach. We'd all been fighting over that one board. And so they gave you the opportunity to decide on where to go before you got in that 18,000 queue, and you sat there and got mad when all I had to do was back out and go to another server. And we had to move an entire community in like, we sat there for an hour trying to figure out what we're going to do, and then we moved.
Dude, Solus, how many characters did you make?
4.
Okay, yeah.
All to level 10.
All the way,
My point, right, but my ending point on that is you can't blame Amazon for your planning on wanting to be on a huge server where all the people are. That's not something they can be held accountable for. You had a place to go and a place to play. We made that decision, and we've been playing since day one. Am I wrong?
No, definitely not wrong. Now, it wasn't. I don't think it was Amazon that let that information out there. I think that was a fan that put that stuff together, because we got our Loreseekers cast. We got hit up on Twitter or on Twitch with a private message about where we were going, and then lo and behold, we ended up on that website about where we were going. That's how that whole thing ended up going down. So somebody, I mean, whoever did that work, like, wow, that's a lot of work, but that's how that website ended up getting populated. So I wanted to end this with something positive, because however it ended up shaking down, I'm very happy about the fact that they stuck to their guns and did not overpopulate these servers, because the experience they held at the very top of the pedestal, they held player experience at the very top. And I think that was the smartest play, because when you have a bunch of gamers trying to get in, now all of a sudden the queues get shorter because they're overpopulating the servers, and now you're allowed to get in, and now you have umpteen amount of players on the beach fighting for that same board, for that same node. Now you've ruined the player experience, and you may or may not retain some of those players. So a lot of those players are going to get frustrated and go, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this. The questing system sucks. And oh no, it's not the questing system. There's just too many dang people.
We've seen that right there more than anything.
Right.
I mean, that's if you've played MMOs, that's been a thing over and over and over.
And they seemingly knew that. They seemingly had their finger on the pulse of how these launches are supposed to go. So very, very good move in the first place, for holding true to the player experience. The second thing is they had a contingency plan. And I would say that is where we had to figure it out very quickly, because we did not have a contingency plan. There's probably a whole bunch of companies out there that didn't have a contingency plan, but I have to hand it to AGS for at least having a contingency plan to where they probably had a trigger. And as soon as they reached that number, they said, okay, first batch of extra servers, release these now. Second batch of extra servers, release these now. And once that happened, and once people decided, okay, I'm not going to sit in an 18,000 person queue, that's when we were forced to come up with a contingency plan, which we did, and we ended up switching over to Tlalpalon TT.
What?
Up to
God bless you.
server.
There it is.
And yeah, we've had no problems at all. And I was actually, I told you guys this the other night, but I had a queue last night. I had a 1-person queue and it was gone immediately. But it kind of made me happy to know that, you know what, we did land on a good server as a backup plan for us, because there's still a ton of people on our server here 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see how, how it is at a month and a half and at 3 months. But I'm still very, very pleased at how everything shook down. They very quickly shifted and allowed everybody to be able to play the game. You might not have been on the server that you wanted to be on, but everybody had the opportunity to play on day one if you wanted to play.
Yeah, from a server quality standpoint, this was bar none the best launch I've ever seen from an MMO. Everything you just said, not a million, not a million people fighting over one mob. Server integrity as far as holding up, lag spikes, not really a thing at all. For me, it wasn't. Well,
like Edge said, he was talking about how I like how they didn't open 500 servers. Well, think about World of Warcraft. The reason why you had LFR and LFG is because there were so many dead servers. They had to take those in bundles, and then they gave you the ability to reach out to those people, right? Because they weren't going to force you to leave your server. I do not want to go to LFR, LFGs. I don't want to do that. I would rather have the small community servers that we have, because that's when Lich King was the best of WoW, in my opinion. And it was because it was based around community. They had community management. They had community people on the servers. It was a small community, right? And I just did not like how those servers started to die and then they them all up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
I've got a current reaction and a future kind of optimistic reaction. So here we go. So currently, I think, Amazon has their work cut out for them with the current state. Like, how do you fix or how do you address what is currently going on, Roger? What I start kind of thinking through is we're talking about this from a perspective of us gaming since game one. Imagine a guild from World of Warcraft or a guild from Elder Scrolls Online of 100 individuals that are like, hey, let's go try out New World. Do you think 100 people could find a new home in New World, given the caps and the restrictions? So I think there's also kind of a current state moving forward. How do we address these server caps for incoming new players? But I also want to propose that as we grow the map, as we start building DLCs and that those starter zones become kind of more irrelevant, I think that will inevitably grow the amount of people that we can have playing at any given time. And I do think that will alleviate some of that problem. So I think there's also some future kind of outlook to this as well, as we are less than a month into this game. And as we start bringing in more different content, I think that will also help.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. That's good perspective, particularly for a future setting, This map's going to get huge. Huge.
Oh yeah. Now here's something this is crazy. This is just a throw at the wall. Do you think it would have been as chaotic and crazy and stressful had they not released the names of the servers a few days earlier?
I think it would have delayed the inevitable. Once people would have found out where they were going to go, or XYZ was going to go, X streamer, whatever, it would have happened regardless. It would have just taken longer to happen.
It's just like that website we were talking about. I didn't realize that it was an Amazon thing, but it was still there. I mean, everybody saw it. It was tweeted everywhere. My point is everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Mike Tyson said it. And an 18,000 Q is a severe right hook to the face.
That's a kick in the nuts, dude.
If you want to stand in line for that, you stand in line for it. But God, all means, if there's 4 servers open in the same thing, and you could go play right now, and you just wanted to be on that server because your favorite streamer's on there, that's really not Amazon's problem. That is a decision that a person made, and everybody should understand that there's only so many servers. There's only so many people on that server. So you've got to have some legitimacy to this. We have to be adults and think about it like an adult, right? it is one of those things where when you realize you're not going to be able to do something you want, you either stand there and wait for it or you go find something else to do, right? And that's what it came down to. And they opened more servers. They gave you the ability to play. You just wanted to play on the server you wanted to play on. And I get that, but you kind of couldn't.
And I know we've talked about it before, but that just real quick, how this whole thing went down with us is it was myself and Champ and Sullis we're sitting in a Discord channel going, what are we going to do? Because we're all sitting in queues. It was nasty. I had an inkling for about 15, 20 minutes that I'm not gonna be able to play this game today. Like there's no way I'm gonna be able to get through this 18,000 person queue when it's just barely ticking along. And I remember saying, I really wish Amazon would say something. And it was almost as if it was happening. They were like tweeting simultaneously because they announced something was happening. And it worked out great. And then Champ just said, hey, look, let's just pick a server so everybody can play the game and we'll figure the rest out later. And that is exactly what we did. And we never looked back. I mean, we're still on TT. We're going to stay there.
Yeah.
Maybe next time we could pick less of a tongue twister of a server name. But I think for the most part, our company's pretty happy. We're ecstatic about the way it shook down. And it was because they had that contingency plan in place with trigger points, and they released when they needed to release those extra servers, and things ended up working out just fine.
Yeah, TT started rough. Like it started rough. The Syndicate faction, I'm just going to come out and say it. That was the worst representation I've seen of a Syndicate faction in closed and open beta. But something happened. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But these people, I don't know if the toxic people left or what, but things have kind of started to level out. Oh yeah, they're always going to be there. But it wasn't like, no, it was like a full-on nasty Reddit post 24/7 on the Syndicate side on Tilapia, whatever it is. Like it was ridiculous, and we were losing because of it as a faction, 100%. Just looking at the map, like we were suffering big time. And you had a guild crank up their trading tax to 25%, so there was a huge blow up over that. I mean, it was just one thing after the other, and now it's settled down. It's a good server, I gotta say. Pretty good.
Right, I'm having a good time, and we're not even into it yet. We're allowing our players to level and experience the leveling of the game. Because Sullis, we talked about, they came up to us, hey, when are we going to take over a city? Well, if we take over a city, we're going to have to stay there. So do you want to take over the city? And we polled it, and our community spoke. We want to level. We want to experience the game. So we haven't even begun to kick ass yet. You haven't seen the 100 of us running around in a zone yet, taking over your crap. It's coming. It's coming. We're giving you time to get comfortable and get your building nice and pretty for me to take over. Go ahead and get them pictures up on the wall. Put that nice fur blanket down on the bed, because that's going to be my bed here in about 2-3 weeks.
That's right.
So just understand, don't think for a second because we're taking our time doesn't mean we ain't got teeth, because these claws are sharp and we're coming for you stuff.
We're gonna come read all your books.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, I just want to react. So I just want to react to Cash's question real quick. First off, it's a phenomenal question. I think this is where, like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like, I think New World had the best intentions. They had community in mind, and they said, how do we equip these communities to be ready to go minute zero? So, okay, here are your 56 servers in the NA West. Make your plans, community. If you remember their tweet, they framed it exactly that way. Hey, make your plans with your friends, right? Here are your 56 servers, make it happen. Well, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? We saw the negative, come out of that. So I think it's a phenomenal question is, next time this happens, next expansion or next, launch of a game, like what is the right answer? Because you want to be able to plan. At the same time, you're also showing your hand, right? You're letting everybody kind of commit to an El Dorado that has 21,000 people in server, right? So I think what you ask is it's a very deep question of how you approach that, but I do think they had the best intentions of just educating communities on how to get involved together at minute zero.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, friends, you can check this out for yourself if you want to read the forum post. We're going to start linking all our sources over at the episode page so you can see us for yourself. So the server transfer issues that took place and the posts that followed. Let us know what you think of the servers. Email us, loreseekerscast@gmail.com.